Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And what I'm going to talk about in this video is quite a difficult subject. We're going to talk about Rachel Morin, who we covered Rachel's story, didn't we, right from the beginning, when her case, unfortunately, so it's not last August, but the August before. Beautiful Rachel. Let's put some pictures up of her. Went for a hike or a jog on her local running trail or local nature trail, the Morin Trail in Maryland in the USA. And never went home because Rachel was brutally attacked, RAPD'd and murdered by an illegal immigrant. And that caused a big fuss, didn't it? It's been a very political case, this one, which is a bit sad because, we don't want Rachel to get lost in this. At the end of the day, this case is about Rachel. Is Rachel who died, Rachel who was attacked. It's not really about politics, is it? But politics has been brought into this case because of the fact her attacker was an illegal immigrant. And also, he went across the border illegally. He tried several times to get over the border, wasn't successful, but was finally successful. But he sneaked over the border. He wasn't allowed over the border. And then, of course, it turns out he was already wanted for murder in his own home country of El Salvador. So that was even worse. How did he, why was he not stopped at some point? He then went to Los Angeles and committed a similar crime there, but he didn't murder the person, but it was a vicious attack on a little girl. And he then moved all the way over to the other side of the country. And Rachel, unfortunately for her, when she set off on her hiking trail that day, she was about to, there was evil lurking, waiting for her. Or well, maybe waiting. We're not sure if he was waiting for her in particular or just waiting for any woman to walk by, but he was definitely looking to do something bad that day. Now we've had the trial. And it was very upsetting for all of Rachel's family. And, because all the details came out, it was a particularly, all murders are brutal, I suppose, but it was a particularly brutal murder. And, but he was found guilty. Anyway, so the only good news really, is that he was found guilty. He was found guilty on all counts. And we're now awaiting his sentencing, which we've had the date that he's going to be sentenced. We're going to look at that in a minute. So this is what we're going to talk about today. But there's something very disagreeable going on in this family because Rachel's mother, Patty, and we're going to have a look at her. She's been very vociferous with Rachel's case, parading herself all over the TV, using it as a political tool while she snuggles up to Donald Trump because she absolutely adores Donald Trump, it seems. And she's been in the White House, she's had interviews. But, it's rankled me for quite a long time now because I know, and I've known for quite a long time, that Patty and Rachel, although Patty is Rachel's mum, they were estranged. They weren't really in very close contact, and for reasons that I'm going to explain. So is Patty misrepresenting what Rachel would have wanted? And it's very difficult to criticise a grieving mother, isn't it? When she's all over the telly saying how she's lost her daughter and how terrible it is, which I'm sure it is terrible. But it's not quite true, the things that she's saying, and it's sort of like a niggle that. And I was going to wait for the sentencing before I talked about this, but the sentencing is still quite a way off. So I thought, no, I'm going to talk about it now because other things have come out now. So in fact, Patty allegedly has misappropriated the funds from the GoFundMe that was set up for Rachel's children. So Rachel left 5 children behind. So 5 children were made motherless. And not only that, they all had to split up and go and live in different families because they had different fathers. So the whole family was, and the home where they lived has now been, it's gone. It's not even there anymore. I don't know if any of you that watch my channel regularly remember her oldest daughter, Faye, standing with an umbrella, in the pouring rain, talking about how, this was a sort of childhood home really where she spent all this time with her mum, and her siblings. So that whole family has been ripped asunder. And Rachel's mum, Patty, she's not close to her grandchildren. So, and now this money has disappeared. Over £50,000 that was raised. You know what I think of GoFundMe is that's where there's always problems, isn't there? It's rare that there's not problems with GoFundMe's one way or another. As useful as they are, how do you know that the money's going to the right people? So these children allegedly have not seen a penny of this $50,000, dollars that was raised in Rachel's memory to help her children. And so there's a lawsuit going on. And I've known about that for quite a long time. I haven't wanted to talk about it, but I've noticed now that people are talking about it. And all I want to say is I have a source very close to this case. And the things that I say, I know 100% are true. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at when the sentencing date is, and we're going to look at this sort of awful situation. It's very sad, isn't it? That when families can't stick together, But at the end of the day, Patty, she's like the matriarch of that family. She has a responsibility to her grandchildren to make sure that they are okay, doesn't she? And if it's true that she's misappropriated that money, it's not good. And it's not good either, I think. Snuggling up to Trump, we're going to see it, using Rachel's death as like a political weapon. And also, a way for attention for her to get to the White House and give Trump a public cuddle. And, it's sort of, it's been like a bad taste in my mouth for ages, and I've just got to talk about it. And, I don't mean any harm to Patty or anything, but I'm just saying it as it is. And, it's that I feel for Patty. She lost her daughter, but at the end of the day, the more important thing is these children have lost their mother. They were living with their mother. Patty wasn't close to Rachel, it's not affected her life really, because it's not affected her life in the day-to-day living of her life. In fact, it's meant that she's sort of gadding all around the White House, etc. So it rankles with me. It's rankled with me for ages, to use the death of your child. I mean, she's a grown woman, obviously, but to use the death of your daughter as a way of snuggling up to Trump. So that's what we're going to talk about. So first of all, I want to say thank you, of course. Thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you to all of you who've bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a super sticker, gifted memberships, or anything positive you've done to support my channel. And of course, especially my members, thank you so much. Okay, so let me take the banner off now for a little swig of coffee. So it's very delicate. It's a delicate subject because, at the end of the day, Patty is Rachel's mum. But Rachel's children are Rachel's children, and they are more important, aren't they? Because they are saying the oldest child, Faye, who actually has just had a baby herself. She's 19, I think now. That's the only bit of what's the word, a bit of positivity that's come into that child's life since her mum left her. She's now got a child of her own, and that's a lovely bit of news, a bit of positive news. But all her and the other children, they are saying that they have suffered financial hardship since Rachel died, because Rachel had her own cleaning business. She was the one holding it all together in the main. I'm not saying the dads weren't contributing, but at the end of the day, they were living with Rachel, and they have suffered the most. And now it seems that these funds have been misappropriated, allegedly. So that's what we're going to look at. But first of all, I want to tell you about Victor's sentencing date. So it's still quite a long way off. It surprised me when I've known for a little while, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. But it's quite far off, which is strange. It's not till, I think it's August. Let me just check. Shush. Let me just check. That's when the dogs start barking, my brain just sort of goes to mush. It's so irritating. Let's see. Gosh, just need to find the exact date. Anyway, I had it all ready then, it's disappeared as always. Or maybe I just can't find it. When the dogs bark, I can't find anything. Gosh, I have to go right through. Yeah, so August the 11th at 9:30 a.m. at Harford County Circuit Court in Bel Air. And he will remain in the Harford County Detention Centre without bail until his sentencing. And so on that date of sentencing, there will be family impact statements, well, if they want to give them. So we can't wait for the sentencing. It's the final sort of link, if you like, in the trial, etc. I mean, obviously, it's not the end of the story for Rachel's family. They have to live with what's happened to Rachel forever. But it's like the last sort of chink about Victor, isn't it? We don't have to think about him anymore or talk about him. But August the 11th this year, so it's quite a long way off, isn't it? Sometimes I just don't understand these. I know every state is different in America, but we've seen other court cases recently, like the Delphi case, etc. And the sentencing is immediate almost, isn't it? So I'm not sure why this sentencing isn't till August. No, so we've still got quite a few. How long have we got? I mean, we're just at the beginning of May, so May, June, July. Oh, still got 4 months or 3.5 months before the sentencing. So it's, I don't know why that is, to be honest. I have no idea why. So he's going to be sentenced, and hopefully his sentence will be life without parole. That's the maximum sentence that it can be. There's no death penalty on the table. So it's going to, the hope will be, and I can't see that it could be any different, to be honest. I think it's going to be life sentence without parole. I'd be very surprised if parole was given. But of course, all right, so before I carry on, I'm just going to say hello to everyone. Hi, lurkers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Rachel and her kids. And also, I want to say thank you to Replay Crew. Hi, thank you again. And now I'm going to just say hello to anyone who is in the chat. Hi, Sheep Farm in Australia. Hi, Claire. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Julie. Have a good... Yeah, it was all right, Julie. It was just same old, really, to be honest. But at least we didn't have a power cut. I hope you have a good day with your classes, Julie. Hi, Daniel. Good morning. Yeah, exactly, David. Donald Trump has used Patty Morin, but she's also used him a bit. I think she's quite enjoyed all the attention. And anyway, we're going to have a look at her cuddling up. She's practically sitting on his knee in the Oval Office. Do you know what I mean? It's like, God, you know. And money is always, you know, you see what I'm saying about this. I think the GoFundMes are brilliant, and sometimes people need money. They needed money. The mother will probably end up saying she's paid for the funeral, etc. There's something else that I'm going to be showing you about the obituary for Rachel that's been pointed out to me. She's not a nice person either, really, Patty. It seems, you know, she's quite she's a bigot. She's a homophobe. She's got a lot of other things. I'm going to explain about that, why I'm saying that. And, you know, there are quite a lot of things about Patty that the more you look into her, she's not really necessarily a nice person. And that's why she was estranged from Rachel, because Rachel was a nice person. Rachel was an inclusive person. She didn't like division. She wasn't a bigot. She wouldn't have approved of Donald Trump. You know, so really Patty's using Rachel's name to do something that Rachel herself would not approve of, according to my source who knows Rachel very well. So, you know, it's just like, yeah, you know, it's like rankling. Do you know what I mean? It's not just because Donald Trump's not my cup of tea. It's because knowing the things that I know, it's been like, and being a person who's, you know, I am an upfront person. I like to say what I think. I don't like to hide things that, you know, whatever, whether you agree with me about anything I say or you don't, what I say will always be my true thoughts. I'm not lying. I'm not making things up. These are the facts that I've been told from someone that I trust implicitly. So, you know, and then I've got my own opinions, and it's all felt, even before I was told any of the things that I've been told, it's always felt a little bit, oh, not sure why she's doing that. And now it all becomes a lot clearer. In the shiv bin, David. Yeah, I'm not going to call it that. It is too rude. But I will end up maybe the recycling bin, though we don't want them to be recycled, do we? So we have to think of another name that's not quite so rude. Okay, so where am I going now? So, yeah, so I've told you when the sentencing date is. So, yeah, quite a long time, isn't it, to wait for the sentencing date? Let me just show you this article. This article was actually from September last year. That's when this sort of information started coming out about about Rachel's children suing Patty. Now, it's very difficult for the children, of course, as well. This is their grandmother. One thing I did notice when I've seen Patty talking, she rarely refers to them as her grandchildren. She'll say Rachel's children, but they are her grandchildren, but she rarely refers to them as that. You know, I mean, I will say, oh yeah, Rachel's children, but they're not my grandchildren. No, it's just sometimes you just notice these little things. So the Rachel Morin family battles each other in court over GoFundMe proceeds. I mean, those sometimes just looking at Patty's face now, I'm starting to, you know, it's this sort of, I don't know. It's very difficult. This is a difficult video to make because I don't like criticising a bereaved mother. But, you know, sometimes, look, the mother of Rachel Morin, Patty Morin, leans on a loved one for comfort as the ceremony for the remembrance walk begins. So this is one of Rachel's sisters here. So it seems like the family is completely divided. And the other thing that the children are annoyed about, or the representatives of the children, etc., is Randolph Rice, who's the lawyer, always says every time you see him on the telly, it's the family lawyer, the family this. He's not the family lawyer. He's Patty and maybe a couple of the family members' lawyer, but not the whole family's lawyer. Just to make that clear. So a family fight over fundraising, raising proceeds in the name of Rachel Morin, the Harford County mother of 5 RAPD'd and murdered last summer along the Marne Parr Trail. So Rachel's oldest daughter, 19-year-old Faye McMahon, joined Joseph Custer and Jonathan Alderson, the fathers of her 4 other surviving children, in suing their grandmother, Patricia Morin, their aunt, Rebecca Morin, and the family attorney, Randolph Rice. They've even referred to him there as the family attorney. So what they're saying is he's not the family attorney. He is Patty and Rebecca's attorney. So it might be semantics. It's all in a word, isn't it? But, you know, it's easy to give false impressions. I mean, when I started following this case, you know, right from when it started, and then when Rachel's mum appeared, I used to follow her on Facebook. I don't know if she used to do like a prayer. I don't know what's happened to that, actually. She used to do like a prayer thing on Facebook, and I was following her and joining in her prayers and everything. I don't know if it disappeared or maybe she kicked me off. I don't know. So, you know, and I was like everyone, you know, feeling that sympathy because I didn't know I didn't know then what I know now. You know, obviously just think, oh, you know, that poor mother. But of course, not everybody, not all families are close, are they? So has she been misrepresenting herself as how close she was to Rachel? You just assume because it's a mum that they were close, but was she? I don't know. So Rachel's next of kin and estate representative alleges that $53,441 raised by a GoFundMe did not benefit her young siblings as initially intended. And they contend the GoFundMe, which was started by Rebecca, which originally specified that funds left after funeral costs would go solely towards the needs of the kids. So the GoFundMe was started by Rebecca, the sister, and they argue the wording suddenly changed to say that remaining funds would go towards Rachel's family and the needs of her children. So what their claim is that the initial objective was stated to be solely towards the needs of the kids. Then the wording changed to say remaining funds would go towards Rachel's family and the needs of her children. I mean, what does that mean? You know, so that's their contention anyway. And, you know, it's happening. And the lawsuit also highlights 4 fundraisers held for Rachel's family at 3 area businesses. And Faye believes her side is entitled to a portion of all generated proceeds, but they claim they've received nothing. And it accuses Patricia, Rebecca, and their attorney, Randolph Rice, of withholding the money. And Faye attests that she and her siblings have faced financial hardship since their mother's death, suggesting they would suffer irreparable harm if the money owed to them is denied. And Faye's attorneys also want the judge to bar Rice, Patricia and Rebecca from accessing and spending the leftover funds. Additionally, they're demanding that Rice quit calling himself Rachel's family attorney and saying he in no way represents the entire family, rather only a few members of the family. So it's that old chestnut, isn't it? Water. Sorry, water. What? That's because I was reading the chat. I was seeing something about Greenland. So it's that old chestnut. Money might make the world go round, but it also causes so many problems, doesn't it? Now, I want to tell you about other reasons why I'm dubious about Patty. So one reason is, let's have a look at her with Trump first of all. Let's have a look at this. So this is her cozying up, actually cuddling. Oh, she's in the White House. You just feel like she's enjoying it that little bit too much. So, of course, these high-profile cases like Rachel Morin's case, and, of course, Lake and Riley was another case, high-profile. We covered both of them. They helped Donald Trump with his campaign against immigrants because they were both, those crimes were committed by illegal immigrants. And, it must be not, it's not that I don't take the point that they're saying, but what I think, how many crimes every day are committed by people who aren't illegal immigrants? And then, these high profile cases sort of bring up all this hatred and division. It's not fair to label all immigrants, illegal or otherwise. They're not all convicted felons or whatever. They're not, lots of them just stay under the radar. They don't want attention. They don't do anything bad. A lot of them work and probably pay their taxes. I don't know. But anyway, whatever you think about immigration, it's wrong to just ban people altogether. So, it's the same with all things. So if Spanish people who live near Benidorm probably think all British people are, yobs and alcoholics. What are you can't judge a whole sort of nation of people or a whole group of people just on the actions of a few. It's wrong to do that. Anyway, let's have a look at Patty with Donald, the little loving they had.
Beautiful. A dear friend. She's a beautiful woman. She's been through hell. She's been through hell, right?
Oh, yes.
Your daughter's looking down proud of you. You know that. Just keep it going.
I know.
Keep it going.
It's like you,
Stay with that one.
it's like you said, we have a purpose.
It's a purpose.
Yes, it is.
She's proud of you. Beautiful.
A dear friend.
Well, from what I can gather, I don't think Rachel would be really proud of it because Rachel would not have approved, from what I've been told, of what Donald Trump is doing. So would Rachel be proud of her? I don't know. But anyway, we'll never know that. But the thing is, well, you let me know what you think. Some of you will probably, disagree with me. That's fine. Just don't be unpleasant about it. I mean, this is what I've been told just by people close to the family.
Beautiful.
A dear friend.
She's a beautiful woman. She's been through hell. She's been through hell, right?
Oh, yes.
Your daughter's looking down proud of you. You know that. Just keep it going.
I know.
Keep it going.
It's like you,
Stay with that one.
it's like you said, we have a purpose.
It's a purpose.
Yes, it is.
She's proud of you. Beautiful.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful woman. She's been through hell. She's been through hell, right?
Oh, yes.
But she hasn't been through as much hell as Rachel's children have gone through, has she? Let's face it. And now finding out what I have found out, that they weren't even actually close. In the end, I mean, they may have been close when Rachel was young, but as time went on, it's a bit sort of Anyway, what else have I got to tell you about it? So the other thing, I've got an interview, another interview here ready to watch. Yeah, so let's have a look at this one. So she went up and gave a speech in the Oval Office.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. President Trump campaigned on the promise to secure our homeland and deport violent alien criminals from our communities. That is why the American people overwhelmingly reelected him back to this office, and it's why the American people defeated the Democrat Party in devastating fashion. Today, we have officially learned Democrat officials still refuse to accept the will of the American people. Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen rushed to Dulles Airport this morning to fly to El Salvador, potentially using taxpayer dollars to demand the release of deported illegal alien MS-13 terrorist. The Democrats and the media in this room have continually and wrongly labeled Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a Maryland father. There is no Maryland father. Let me reiterate. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Abrego Garcia was also arrested with two other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And two separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed. And just this morning, it was revealed through Maryland court documents that Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021. And here is the order right here. The court ordered that the respondent committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. This is from a court in Maryland. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater.
Yeah.
To set all...
I mean, this woman, one thing I will say about this woman, can't even remember her name, but she's very good. She's very good. She's like a robot, isn't she? She's like, she is good at what she does. I got to give her that. She's very good at what she does, which is basically share propaganda. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward her a bit and just have a look at what Patty says.
Into our country. And where are the Democrats when innocent Americans that Joe Biden led El Salvador to? Nobody knows of an illegal alien. And we are grateful and we are honored for her willingness and her request to share her powerful story with the world. Thank you, Patty, for being here.
Thank you. A lot of you don't know the whole story about Rachel and about the crime that was committed against her. Even us, her family, we didn't know all the details. They kept most of it close to their chest, the detectives, because they didn't want to do anything to hurt the case. They wanted to keep the integrity of the case, so they kept everything close. I sat for the last 2 weeks in her trial, and we saw layer upon layer upon layer of evidence against the accused, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. And the things that we thought, well, maybe this might have happened, we didn't know. But when we were at the trial, we got all the puzzle pieces. And I want to share some of those things with you. You know that Rachel's a 37-year-old mother. She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a safe place for our family. It's where we go to get a little bit of New England, because that's where we're from, New England. When she went on that trail that day, she was not planning on dying. She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards. Victor Martinez, he waited for her. He waited for her to come closer. He saw her. He saw that there was nobody around. He attacked her. He dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. It left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. But before he did that, he stopped on that trail, and rocks, still stained with her blood, he used them to hammer her head against those rocks. They say at least 20 times they could count the cuts in her head. They said that when they did the autopsy, and I've seen the pictures, there's a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull is shattered the way that you would crush an eggshell in pieces. 3/4 of her brain hemorrhaged. Her right and left side of her face bashed in.
I don't
Her
know if
beautiful
we need to
face,
listen to all that.
broken bones. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. She had a fractured rib, fractured nose.
I don't know if this is appropriate, really, for her to be taught. You know, a lot of families look at the Southport stamp. They didn't want all the details released, but she's going through all the details. It's not totally unnecessary to go through all these details now after the trial and everything. We all had to listen to those details, you know. But why is she going through it all again? It just feels uneasy to me as well, because I don't want Rachel to be just remembered as what happened to her. Rachel should be remembered, you know. To me, that was me. I'd be talking about my daughter and what, like the Southport, the parents of the Southport victims did. They wanted them to be remembered for the children they were, for the lights that vibrant beings they were. They didn't want them to be remembered for what they were reduced to by a psychopath. You know, this feels wrong to me. It really does. What are you going on about that again now for, Patty?
Fractured skull.
Oh my God.
And then he takes her into the wall.
Oh, whatever.
You could see where
Sorry,
the blood
I don't mean to be
ran down
facetious,
around.
but you know, she's really going into details. It's just not right, I don't think. Not right.
These are the kind of people that have no compulsion.
So what does she mean? These are the kind of the people. So is she saying that everyone from El Salvador does things like that because one person did it? These are the kind of people. It's him, the kind of person he is. Yes, he is a complete twonk. It's not, but you know, do you think there are no American twonks? You know, and then God, how many cases this year that weren't illegal immigrants that committed them? You've got to stop these people. It's not the right thing to say.
Like, to them, this is nothing.
No, to
and
them.
When he was sitting in.
So, listen, I don't know if I can listen to much more of this. To them, as if they're a group of people. Now, the other thing I want to say about Patty is she is a homophobe. So apparently, Patty is very anti-gay. That's part of her philosophy. And then one of Rachel's brothers turned out he was gay. You know, he came out as being gay. So, well, you can imagine how Patty felt about that. So when him and his husband, so he married a man, when him and his husband would come and visit, they weren't allowed to stay at Patty's house. They would stay with Rachel. And then Patty wasn't even happy with that. She would give give Rachel a hard time for letting them stay at her house, saying, what sort of message are you sending to your children? And then when it came to the funeral, the obituary, let's have a look at the obituary. Rachel's obituary, of course. Let's have a look. So there's a lot of other things that I could say about that I've been told that I'm not going to go into. I'm just going into the things that I feel that I can say or show, but that's not everything. Oh gosh, why can I never find what I get ready? So annoying. Get things ready and then I can't find them. So really, her and Donald Trump, they're, made for each other, really, aren't they? They're made for each other. Right, yeah, let's have a look at this. So this is Rachel's obituary. Rachel H. Morin, bless her, 37 years old, born on May the 20th. Oh, she's got a birthday coming up, a heavenly birthday coming up this month on the 20th. And she was murdered on August the 6th, 2023. She was 37 years old. So let's have a look at this. So Rachel Morin obituary. Rachel H. Morin, born May the 20th, 1986 in New Hampshire, passed away on August the 6th, 2023. She was a beloved daughter to Patty Morin and the late Ronald Zach Morin. So her dad was dead. I've quite often wondered about her dad. Rachel was a devoted mother to her children Faye, Violet, Octavia, Declan and Lila. She was the caring sister of Rebecca, Nathan and his wife Megan, Michael and his wife Shannon, John and his wife Sam. Well, John's wife Sam is actually John's husband, Sam. So when Patty wrote the obituary, she obviously just could not bring herself to say John and his husband, Sam. That's not a mistake made by the funeral. She just couldn't bring herself to say that Sam is a man. So that when I was told that, shown that, it just was like, what? And as I say, there's a lot more that I could say about Patty, but I'm not going to, because I'm not trying to get the daggers out for her or anything. Just I had to say something because it's just felt uncomfortable for a long time, this with me. It's the things, as I say, cuddling up to Donald Trump, etc. I think there's one other thing I just want to show that someone sent me. So let me just say that, gosh, how can I put it? I don't want to, I can't watch any more of that. I've lost the, something else I was sent this.
Isn't very good.
Yes, I'm sorry.
How often do you practice speaking?
But we're going to begin in Maryland. So for the first time, I should say, in almost 2 years, the family of Rachel Morin can turn their thoughts away from the law and the courts.
I was also sent this, which is just a bit of an interview with Patty. Oh, Patty's been on everything. There's nothing that Patty's not been on.
And the justice to try to find just some peace. Now, if you were with us last night, You know, the 23-year-old undocumented immigrant who is charged with Rachel's sadistic murder on a jogging trail in Maryland was convicted in less than an hour after a 9-day trial. The jury found Victor Martinez Hernandez guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, first-degree rape, and kidnapping. And he will.
Now, I just want to say I've got no sympathies with Victor. Victor is a total piece of you-know-what. He's a horrible person. I'm glad he's been caught. I hope he never sees the light of day again. But I'm not going to look at Victor and think, oh, just because he did that, everybody from Ecuador, from El Salvador is like him. That's just not true, is it?
Will almost certainly be sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Here's the prosecutor after yesterday's verdict.
It is my sincere hope that today's verdict brings some peace and closure to the entire Morin family. While no verdict or sentence can ever bring Rachel back, I am proud of the work that was done to ensure that justice was served and that Victor Martinez Hernandez will never again be a threat to another woman in his lifetime.
Now, this was a slam dunk case. I mean, the evidence was against him. And this suspect was ID'd from DNA at the murder scene in Maryland and from an assault in Los Angeles months earlier. Remember this video?
Gosh, yeah, remember that video? It looks nothing like you would imagine him. It was almost just, you would not imagine him. Look how broad he looks. That's very deceptive, that video.
But it still took almost a year to track him to a bar stool in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And through it all, Rachel's family grieved and hoped and waited, and they finally got a sense of justice. And now it is my pleasure to welcome onto the show Patty Morin. This is Rachel's mother. Patty, thank you so much for taking the time. This journey over the last several years, it's unimaginable. And after what happened this week, I just wanted to ask, how are you holding up? How are you doing right now?
It's kind of like a weird place to be because we're happy. And like, I don't even know if happy is the word, but I don't know what other word to use. We're happy that there has justice has been found for my daughter, that the evidence presented was so irrefutable that we truly believe that he was the murderer, and to see the process and to understand the crime, and then to see the juror, pay attention to the details of the case as it's presented, and to come back with a verdict was, it felt like finally it was over. Like for the last 19 months, at first we didn't believe that she died. And then we were almost losing hope that they wouldn't be able to find anybody because it just seemed so impossible. But all the detectives and the law enforcement agencies working behind the scenes and then not telling the family all the details, which made us kind of frustrated and angry because we didn't know, do they really know what they're doing or not? Because we've never been this way before. But to see it all just accumulate, I'm so emotional right now, I can't even speak.
That's okay.
Just come together and like such a perfect defense or prosecution where every detail was like layer upon layer upon layer of irrefutable. It just made me so grateful for all of the men and women that worked on this case. They took Rachel as if she was their family member, and they
probably saw more of Rachel than you had in the recent past. Anyway, so I can feel myself getting a bit annoyed with Patty now. I think the more I look at it, and now knowing what I know, it's sort of irritating, because at the same time she's out here, you know, saying that illegal immigrants are all these kind of people and blah, 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 blah. She's allegedly stealing money off her own grandchildren who've lost their mother. So you know what, Patty's a religious person. Patty, if you're watching this, I would say to you, let he or she who is without sin cast the first stone. So, you know, you're criticizing, one person who murdered your daughter. You're then banding together all the rest of the people. So, you know, they're all the same as him, these kind of people. And what kind of person misappropriates their grandchildren's funds that were raised for them to help them after their mother was murdered? What kind of person does that, Patty? That's what I would say, allegedly. Of course, it's not proven yet. It's a lawsuit. But you know what? You've got to think, why would somebody take out a lawsuit like that? You know, she's not close to her grandchildren. You know, they've had to fend for themselves. And luckily, I think they've got fathers, you know, who have stepped up as well. So thank God for that, because although Rachel was the one they were in the primary care of Rachel, it seems like she had a good relationship with all the fathers. They seem to be good fathers, and they've all stepped up. And her family, her other family, now she's got a big family. So it's not all the family. When Patty talks about family, she's not talking about the whole family. Apparently, she was quite rude to some members of the family in the trial, not letting them sit in the family section of the trial because she said it was just for immediate family. You know, so I would just say to Patty, yeah, you're a religious person. Let he or she who is without sin cast the first stone, Patty, because, you know, I think things are going to... You watch how quick Donald Trump disassociates himself from her if anything comes out that she is found guilty of misappropriating these funds. See how far he distances himself from her then.
They work so hard for our family to find justice for Rachel and to bring this to a closure for us. So
You know,
I'm happy and I'm sad.
No, look, you know, Patty, this is, as you said, your first introduction to the criminal system, the criminal justice system, and hopefully this is the last you ever experience it. And I'll say I speak to a lot of victims' family members, and everything you described, completely normal. They talk about this relief, this weight that they had to carry from when the crime was committed through the investigation, the arrest. It's completely normal. You know, one of the beautiful things about Rachel was she had this big family and she had these children. How are they doing? Do the younger ones understand what's going on right now?
I don't think they completely understand just because of their age. I know that they've been told that mom has gone to heaven.
Yeah, so he's asking her about the children. She hasn't got a clue because she doesn't see them. So I was told that she's seen more of Donald Trump since Rachel died than she has of her own grandchildren. So she's just, you know, making it up really now because she doesn't know. She has no idea how they're coping. She does not know because she's estranged from them.
And that mom's not coming back. But I think as they grow and they revisit this and get more details, you know, as they're old enough to understand, I think that they're going to be grieving over the next few years as they process this. But I do have to say, during the trial, 2 of her daughters had to give testimony. And it was so heartbreaking. They were so...
So she says 2 of her daughters, you know, they're her grandchildren. Why don't you say 2 of my grandchildren? She's not close to them. She's not close to them. And, you know, she hasn't helped them in any way, shape or form. And in fact, if anything, she's done the opposite.
So brave, but it was so heartbreaking. Her 14-year-old daughter, Violet, was the last one to actually speak with her and communicate. And she broke down on the witness stand, trying to keep herself composed to answer questions. And then when she's leaving the courtroom, you just hear her just break out into these heart-wrenching sobs. It was so hard because we were asked not to show emotion in the courtroom so that our emotions wouldn't persuade the jury in any way, because we really wanted to have a fair and just trial so that the verdict would just be a solid verdict. But just to hear her heart-wrenching sobs was so hard. So they still have a long way to go to heal.
That testimony was incredibly difficult because not only are they talking about the loss of their mother, they're talking about the last time they spoke to her and also trying to get a hold of her. And you know, that sense of fear. It was really, really difficult to hear that testimony. There was a word you used before. You said how the evidence was irrefutable. I couldn't agree more. From a legal point of view, I'm an attorney. I mean, this was a slam dunk case in my perspective. I said at day one of this trial. But when you hear the defense, you hear them putting forward the defenses, right? The idea here, there was no motive. He didn't know Rachel, that a witness allegedly saw this mysterious man in the woods. Look, he's entitled to a defense, and they put one on. What was your reaction to those defenses?
Well, my first reaction was that these folks that are defending the defendant probably have never walked the trail, because if they had, they would have known the position of the son, which the prosecutor, Allison Healy, she did such an excellent job. She brought out that the witness, when he turned around to see the man in the woods, he was actually looking into the sun. So the person that he saw in the woods would have had sunlight on his face, which would have made his features lighter. And he was also up on like a little knoll, so it would have made him taller. And so Allison brought that out after the fact. But
oh, sorry, adverts.
So,
and then the other one was, remind me again what the other one was.
Well, there was no motive. He didn't know who she was. You know, there was no connection to her whatsoever. And by the way, from a legal point of view, you know,
yeah, because one of those witnesses said they thought he had a blonde beard, didn't he? But yeah, I think the way the sun was probably on Victor, it made him, like she says, he was stood up on a knoll, made him look taller, made it even look that maybe there was a blonde beard, because that'd be the sun shining on him. Anyway, it was a slam dunk case at the end of the day. The evidence, the DNA evidence, all that, it was irrefutable. And his defense was he wasn't in Maryland. And of course, there was CCTV showing that he was in Maryland. There was selfies taken with his cousin that he'd spent Christmas with. And then he said that these weren't his cousins, that he didn't even know who they were. I mean, it was the most ludicrous defense you'd ever heard in your life.
You know, prosecutors don't have to prove that there is a motive, but they said there was no connection. He had no reason to do this.
But I mean, they showed a straight line from the tunnel to where the watch was on the trail to the shovel that they found to the house he was living in. So do men need a motive to kill?
No.
Sometimes it's just in their hearts to do. I never believed that men were totally evil, but this is the first time that I really think that I have seen an evil person.
No, he definitely is evil, but does she mean men in general, or is she talking about this particular man, or is she talking about El Salvadorian men? I mean, who, you know, when she says men, you know, some men are evil. But some women are evil as well, of course. It's not exactly a good thing to do, to misappropriate your grandchildren's money, is it, either, when they need it? So, you know, I don't really understand what Patty said. But the thing is, once you know, and I say I know a lot more, I've been told a lot more that I'm not going to talk about here because it's personal stuff. Once you know that about someone, you can never look at them in the same light again, can you? So it's hard for me now to watch Patty without getting a little bit angry with her. And also, you know, I'm looking at her and thinking, are these genuine? You know, I haven't seen any tears yet. She quite often gets sort of quite emotional, but you don't really see any tears. But I'm sure she loved Rachel. I don't, you know, I just don't know. All I know is that they were quite estranged. And Patty is not, in many ways, is not a nice person. And this thing about not wanting to acknowledge her own son's husband in the obituary, I mean, I don't know how that made them feel, but you imagine if it was you and your husband, wife, or whatever was not acknowledged because she didn't want to acknowledge that her son was married to a man. Not allowing your son or daughter to stay at your house with their partner because they were gay. Giving your other daughter a hard time because they were letting them stay there, and saying to them, what sort of an example are you setting to your children? Letting your gay brother stay at your house? You know, so once you know all these things, it's difficult to look at Patty in the same light, I'm afraid. Anyway, so I don't know if she did misappropriate the funds or not. That's what the lawsuit will decide. But I think one thing's got to be certain, whether you believe she had the funds or what she did with them or whatever. One thing that's true is the children didn't get them. The children didn't get the funds. They're not lying about that. They didn't get the money, and now they're saying they didn't. They haven't seen a penny of that GoFundMe money that was raised for them. And that's going to be sort of, you know, it's unpalatable, isn't it? It's unpalatable because, of course, the real villain in this whole thing is Victor. He's the fundamental villain. He's the one that took Rachel away from her kids in the first place. But their grandmother does have a responsibility, you know, to them as well, doesn't she? So, you know, is it going to overshadow? Anyway, I hope it gets sorted quickly, whatever it is. Those children, they deserve some, you know, they've lost their mum. They'll never get their mum back. And she was the mainstay of their family. She was what kept them all together. So they've all been split up. They've all, you know, their life will never be the same again. As much as at least they've got people caring about them and loving them. It's not the same as having Rachel, isn't it? You know, we'll see. So, yeah, I've been meaning to make that video for quite a little while now, but, you know, one thing and another going on. So it's Monday today. Now, this time last Monday, everything was okay. And then 2 hours later, that's when we had the big blackout in Spain. So let's hope, you know, we could do with a nice quiet Monday today. No big dramatic things hopefully happening. Oh, by the way, I think my car window is fixed. Somebody came and fixed it for me on Saturday. It's still not 100%, but anyway, they're going to come and just check on it later, make sure it's okay. Oh, please, God, that's that. So just wait for the next thing now, because you know what it's like. As soon as you get one thing sorted, something else goes wrong, doesn't it? So, yeah, my prayers, Joanne, I'm afraid, are more for Rachel's children, you know, and all I want to say to Patty is give the money back. Give the money back to your grandchildren. You know, it's terrible. And don't stop preaching. You know, Patty is a preacher. She's preaching, and, you know, none of us are perfect. We've all done things that aren't good. And Patty's there sort of slinging stones at everybody. And, you know, yeah, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, Patty. So we'll see what happens. With a bit of luck, they'll just concede the lawsuit, you know, because if it goes into a legal wrangle, that's not fair on the kids. They've been through enough. They should not expect to be stiffed by their own grandmother, should they? Okay, so listen, all have a good day, a good evening, wherever you are. I mean, I don't know. It's probably different times for all of you all over the place. And yeah, just prayers. I think I should light a candle for Rachel, actually. Yeah, I'm frightened of rolling the window down now, David. He did say that. He said, oh, what did he say? He said, if you roll it all the way up, it doesn't want to come back down. Well, I don't mind that. I don't mind if it sticks, you know, when it's up, really. I really don't mind, because I can open the other windows. I just don't want it the way it was, you know, where it was all skew with. Anyway, here's a candle for Rachel, because Now, can you imagine Rachel, what she'd be making of it all? You know, it's just terrible. Money, it always causes problems, doesn't it? Just always causes problems. You know, and it'd be nice to see the whole family being reconciled, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to see it sorted out. And those children need their grandma, really, don't they? They need everybody they can on their side because they've lost their mum. So if it could be reconciled, that would be brilliant. But okay, thank you. See you soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Thank you. Oh, here's the dog. Oh, all right, calm down. Bye.